The Fa-X jet fighter dwarfs China's air power, and Beijing knows it. While Chinese engineers celebrated blueprints in 2024, American test pilots were already pushing 6th-generation aircraft past Mach limits over classified desert ranges. The gap isn't measured in years, it's measured in Zhanzheng paradigms. What China calls innovation, the Pentagon calls Tuesday. This is the story of how one fighter program didn't just leapfrog a rival, it erased the starting line entirely. And the most terrifying part? The world only learned about it after it flew. Why would America's defense establishment smile quietly while China unveiled its J-36 in December 2024? Because they'd already achieved what Beijing was celebrating, a decade earlier. Major Ethan Cross sat in a Nevada hangar in 2019, staring at something that shouldn't exist yet. The Boeing X-plane prototype in front of him had no designation, no public name, no official existence. He was told to fly it beyond supersonic cruise, without afterburners. When his instruments registered sustained Mach 1.4 in near silence, Cross realized he wasn't testing a jet. He was piloting a ghost that rewrote physics. That ghost would later be named the F-47. China wouldn't unveil its competitor for another 5 years. September 2020. The US Air Force shattered every assumption about fighter development. Will Roper, then head of Air Force Acquisition, confirmed that America had already flown a next-generation air dominance prototype, breaking records no one knew existed. Not in development, not in testing. Flown. Proven. Operational. While Chinese state media circulated computer renderings and wind tunnel models, American pilots were logging real flight hours in real 6th-gen cockpits. The J-36 made its public debut in December 2024, trailing the US by half a decade at minimum. But that timeline gap is cosmetic. The technological chasm is generational. Steel gleamed cold under hangar lights, progress hidden like shame. The F-47 doesn't just fly with drones, it commands them like neurons firing across synapses. President Trump emphasized this capability in his March 2025 announcement. The F-47 operates with many drones, as many as you want, something no other plane can do. This isn't about quantity. It's about creating an adaptive, networked swarm that shifts roles mid-mission. Sensor platforms become missile trucks. Decoys morph into strike assets. Each unmanned wingman extends the pilot's will across hundreds of miles. China's J-36, with its impressive triple-engine layout, remains a traditional fighter. America moved past building better planes. They built ecosystems. They designed peace faster than they designed control. The F-47 integrates adaptive cycle engines from the next-generation adaptive propulsion program, power plants that adjust thrust, fuel efficiency, and thermal output based on real-time flight conditions. This means the F-47 can supercruise, sustain supersonic speeds without afterburners, for extended durations across the vast Pacific theater. But here's where it gets unsettling. These engines generate enough electrical output to power directed energy weapons. Lasers. On a fighter jet, China's J-36 uses derivatives of existing Russian-influenced engine tech. Impressive? Sure. Revolutionary? Not even close. Thrust roared orange against blue sky, ambition burning hotter than logic. Stealth isn't just about frontal radar cross-section anymore. The F-47 incorporates all-aspect stealth, dramatically reduced visibility from every angle, top, bottom, side, rear. This is achieved through advanced geometry, cutting-edge radar-absorbent materials, and active electronically scanned array surfaces that adapt dynamically to counter specific radar frequencies. Thermal signatures are managed in ways that make infrared detection nearly impossible. China's stealth philosophy has always been reactive. Their J-20 borrowed heavily from F-22 and F-35 design concepts. The J-36 adopts a tailless layout similar to the B-2 bomber, a shape America pioneered decades ago. But stealth isn't just shape. It's materials precision, manufacturing tolerances measured in microns, and electronic systems that function as an integrated organism. America's decades of experience translate to advantages that can't be reverse engineered. Then the radar screen went dark, and so did certainty. The F-47's electronic warfare suite doesn't just jam enemy radar. It hacks into adversary networks, feeding false data and creating phantom targets that appear and vanish at will. During classified Pacific War games, a single F-47 prototype penetrated simulated defenses that would have required an entire strike package of legacy aircraft to suppress. The results shocked military planners into completely reimagining air campaign doctrine. This isn't evolution, it's revolution that renders previous combat strategies obsolete. The aircraft's passive sensor array detects enemy emissions from hundreds of miles away, without revealing its own position. F-47 pilots build complete battlefield pictures while remaining undetected. Unprecedented situational awareness in contested environments. Silence hummed louder than engines. Invisibility screaming dominance. Dr. Amelia Tran, a propulsion systems engineer at Boeing, attended the first classified F-47 engine test in 2020. When the adaptive cycle engine shifted modes mid-burn, throttling from max thrust to fuel-efficient cruise without losing power, she felt her stomach drop. "We'd built something that thought faster than we did," she later told colleagues in a debriefing that remains classified. That engine would power a jet that could outthink, outrun, and outlast anything in the sky. China wouldn't even announce engine development goals for another 3 years. The future flew before the present knew it was obsolete. FAX and F-47 don't just carry better sensors. They fundamentally transform how pilots interact with combat information using advanced AI and machine learning. The system automatically identifies threats, suggests optimal tactics, and anticipates enemy movements based on behavioral patterns. Pilots shift from manual operators to tactical decision makers, with AI handling moment-to-moment execution. Previous fighter generations overwhelmed pilots with raw data. 6th-gen fighters use AI to present only the most relevant information in intuitive formats. The system learns from every mission, improving effectiveness without hardware upgrades. American 6th-generation fighters become more capable over time. China's approach has historically emphasized hardware over software sophistication. While the J-36 undoubtedly features improved avionics compared to the J-20, there's little evidence China has achieved this level of AI integration. Code glowed green in darkened cockpits, intelligence without pulse. While attention focused on the Air Force's F-47, the Navy's FAXX program represents an equally seismic leap. Designed for carrier operations, FAXX addresses challenges the Chinese Navy can't yet comprehend. FAXX boasts dramatically increased range compared to the FA-18 Super Hornet it will replace. In the vast Pacific theater, this extended range means American carriers can remain outside enemy anti-ship missile envelopes while still projecting power deep into contested airspace. For China, still struggling with basic carrier operations, this represents an insurmountable advantage. FAXX pioneered the system of systems approach, coordinating with unmanned tankers like the MQ-25 Stingray to extend range further, or directing unmanned combat vehicles to suppress air defenses without risking pilots. This networked approach to naval aviation is a fundamental advantage China's forces cannot match in the near term. Regardless of how impressive individual Chinese aircraft appear, they lack the ecosystem. The ocean became a chessboard where only one side knew the rules. The F-47 and FAXX programs leverage revolutionary manufacturing techniques that have fundamentally changed how combat aircraft are built. Digital engineering allows Boeing to design, test, and refine the F-47 in virtual environments before cutting a single piece of metal. This dramatically accelerates development, reduces costs, and eliminates design flaws before they become expensive hardware problems. These techniques also enable rapid updates. Rather than waiting decades for a new fighter generation, the F-47 and FAXX can incorporate significant improvements throughout their service lives. China's aerospace industry still struggles with indigenous development of critical components like high-performance jet engines. Their dependence on Russian technology for key systems represents a fundamental limitation difficult to overcome. The American defense industrial base, with unmatched experience in stealth, advanced materials, and high-performance engines, provides advantages extending far beyond individual programs. This institutional knowledge represents decades of accumulated expertise that cannot be replicated, even with extensive espionage. Blueprints dissolved into light, ideas forged before metal ever cooled. Admiral Zhao Wei, a fictional composite of Chinese military planners, faced an impossible choice in late 2024. Intelligence reports confirmed the F-47 had been operational in prototype form since 2019. The J-36 had just made its public debut. His options: accelerate development and sacrifice quality. Or accept a decade-long capability gap while building a true competitor. Either path left China at a decisive disadvantage for the foreseeable future. He knew what American pilots didn't yet fully grasp. The F-47 hadn't just beaten China in a race. It had rewritten the rules so thoroughly that catching up meant abandoning everything learned. Victory looked like patience wearing a smile. The 10-year technological advantage America maintains in sixth-generation fighter technology has profound strategic implications. In any potential conflict, air superiority is the essential precondition for all other military operations. The F-47 and F/A-XX don't just offer better performance. They fundamentally change the calculus of air combat. Their advanced stealth makes them exceptionally difficult to target, while sensor fusion and AI systems allow detection and engagement of enemy aircraft at extreme ranges. In any confrontation, American pilots would likely see and engage Chinese aircraft long before being detected themselves. The tactical advantage cannot be overstated. Moreover, the F-47's ability to control multiple drone wingmen means American forces can present multiple simultaneous threats from different directions, overwhelming even the most sophisticated air defense networks. For Beijing's military planners, this reality creates an uncomfortable dilemma: accelerate and sacrifice quality, or accept a decade-long gap while developing a true competitor. Either approach leaves China at significant disadvantage, reinforcing America's position as the world's premier air power. Dominance whispered where force used to scream. Despite America's clear technological lead, maintaining this advantage requires continued investment and innovation. The aerospace landscape constantly evolves. Today's cutting-edge technology quickly becomes tomorrow's baseline capability. American defense planners understand this reality. The methodical development approach taken with F-47 and F/A-XX programs stands in stark contrast to previous fighter programs that encountered significant cost overruns and delays. By incorporating extensive prototyping, technology demonstrations, and systems engineering work before full-scale production, these programs establish a sustainable path for continued American air dominance. This approach enables the U.S. to maintain technological edge not through one-time innovations, but through continuous refinement and improvement building on unmatched aerospace expertise. As China develops its own aerospace capabilities, America's commitment to maintaining this edge will be crucial in preserving regional stability and deterring potential aggression. The F-47 and F/A-XX programs aren't just about building better fighters. They're about ensuring potential adversaries understand the futility of challenging American air superiority. The revelation that America's sixth-generation fighters are a full decade ahead of China's best efforts isn't just national pride. It's testament to American ingenuity, industrial capability, and strategic foresight. While China celebrates the public unveiling of the J-36, America's defense establishment continues refining technologies that will define aerial combat for decades. The technological gap isn't about bragging rights. It's about maintaining peace through unquestioned military superiority. The F-47 and F/A-XX represent not incremental improvements, but revolutionary approaches to air combat that fundamentally change what's possible in the skies. Their integration of advanced propulsion, all-aspect stealth, artificial intelligence, and drone control capabilities places them in a category entirely their own. For America's potential adversaries, the message is clear. Challenging U.S. air power would be a costly mistake. For America's allies, these programs represent a renewed commitment to maintaining the security and stability that American military dominance has provided for decades. As these revolutionary aircraft move from development to deployment in coming years, they'll serve as powerful reminders of what makes American aerospace the envy of the world. Metal-carved arcs through clouds, monuments to wars never fought. The skies over the Pacific will never be neutral again. But the question isn't whether America can maintain this lead. It's whether the world is ready for what comes after sixth generation. Because while China is still catching up to where the US was in 2019, American engineers are already designing what comes next. Subscribe so you don't miss the next shocking chapter.